The music world moves fast. Want to stay up to date on the latest albums and get in-depth examinations with the artists? Check out Consequence of Sound, the podcast. Bite-sized album reviews for the music fan on the go who wants to stay in the know, and much more. Subscribe to the series on iTunes or your favorite podcast provider, and let the writers of Consequence of Sound steer you right. Check it out at consequenceofsound.net/COS podcast. Consequence Podcast Network.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith With. It's an audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville at WFPK.org. Consequence of Sound and the Consequence Podcast Network. Hey, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening from right now, whether that's Apple Podcasts, at iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you're listening from right now. Please do hit that subscribe button. We release interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and would love to keep you up to date on all those. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today my guest is Mark Eitzel, lead singer of American Music Club, and of course a long, storied, historied solo career that I am a huge fan of. We're going to be doing some time traveling with Mark Eitzel today. We're going to start in 1989 for American Music Club's United Kingdom record. Then we'll hit to the 25th anniversary of the San Francisco record. That was the record that more or less broke up the band. And we'll talk about those final days of American Music Club. And then we'll jump to 2009 for a 10th anniversary of one of his solo records called Klamath. And after that, he gives us the scoop on what to expect next, not just from his next solo record, but from the American Music Club camp. It's Kyle Meredith with Mark Eitzel.
Hey, this is Mark Eitzel.
Hey, first off, did I read right? You got a big birthday coming up, right?
Oh, let's not. Can we not? I mean, I got a gun loaded to my head. Can we not?
Hey, happy birthday. I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, thanks.
I just noticed that. We'll just keep it at the dates. How about that? We'll just keep it at the date that there is a birthday on the way.
Yeah.
Well, with that present in mind, this whole thing, I was hoping to jump way back in time with you. In fact, there's three, I call them the big round number anniversaries, which I like to talk about. And you've got three albums that are sort of celebrating that. And talking about United Kingdom, 30th anniversary, San Francisco's 25th anniversary, and Klamath. Am I saying that right? Klamath?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10th anniversary on that one, too. So lots going on with the big stuff. So as long as you're all right with hopping in the time machine, I feel like I figured we'd start back at the old 1989.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. So 30th anniversary of the United Kingdom. Now this is an interesting record, and I think some fans have always debated where this falls in the American Music Club catalog because it's I don't know, how do you look at this record? It's sort of a hodgepodge, and it was only released in the UK, right?
Well, after we did California, Demon Records wanted us to make another one right away, and the guy who ran the record label thought, let's not. He didn't want to lose us in the contract, so he said, let's make a covers record. So, a record of older songs done live. Let's do a live record. And I was like, well, I got all these songs written. And he said, I don't care, let's just do a live record. So we spent about a month recording a live record, working up to it. And then we did the live record, and it wasn't that great. And again, I said, look, I got all these songs. He said, I don't care. So basically, it went back and forth. The record company said, okay, well, we don't really want this live record, and it's not very good, so what do we do? And I think the owner of the record company had already taken the money, so he's like, fuck it, because that was his favorite expression, fuck it. So fuck it, let's record a record. Fuck it, fuck you, fuck your songs, fucking record it. So we did, and it's I think it's pretty good. I like a lot of it. The songwriting could use a little work, but I think it's good.
Well, I mean, I think every songwriter thinks that, especially when they look back to, their younger selves. But there are beautiful songs all over this. I was going to ask about a couple of them, too. And let's start out with Heaven in Your Hands.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I have no context of what any of these songs are about, and this was a record that I didn't really even familiarize myself with until a few years ago, just because these days it's sort of hard to find on top of that. I mean, it's not like it's on the streaming services or anything like that. But so let's start
Right.
with that one. What do you remember about that song? Because it's such a beautiful song.
It's just sort of an attempt. I mean, I don't know. I get accused a lot of being like Billy Joel.
Really?
Oh God, it's awful. Who is not, Billy Joel, who is not the enemy necessarily. Toxic masculinity aside. So I don't know. I think I was just trying to write a classic kind of love song.
Well, no, it comes off as a classic love song. At least you've succeeded in that part. I never would have crossed my mind to compare it to Billy Joel, though. So it's
No, that's you don't live my life. I mean, it's like everyone is like, for years that's always been the thing. So when I look back on a song like that, I'm like, ugh, the mushy sentimentality, the nostalgia for joy, all this shit. I don't know. Look, you're asking the wrong person. I look back and I think, rewrite the motherfucker, but I don't really have a lot of. Like I look back on these songs, it's like, oh well, for juvenilia, I guess they're okay, but I don't know.
Well, that's when we were also introduced to Kathleen by name in a song, which of course became a big fan favorite. I was reading an interview around the time where you said Kathleen wasn't very happy that her name was in the song, though.
Oh fuck no! And I look back and I feel regret that she was. I mean, this poor girl. It's like, I'm a gay man, but I was really in love with her, and I was 19 when I met her. Like if I had any kind of balls, I would have not been with her for so long. But she moved to San Francisco with me, and we lived together for all the time she was here. And then, I don't think it helped that these songs were. I wrote them as a tribute to her, but also I wrote them because it was the only emotional experience that I was having at the time. So yeah, she really fucking hated it.
On the other side, so you'd mentioned California, and there's, for whatever level, I mean, that's AMC's breakthrough at the moment. That's where the critical acclaim really starts rolling in. And you were tagged with a scene, and so that's where we learned the words, slowcore and stuff like that. Although I don't know if it was completely, that word was around at that point, but definitely in the college music scene, this was a big thing at the same time. And that's what I was sort of wondering, like at that time, we can always look back in history and paint things in a certain way. Did you feel like you were a part of a scene at that time?
Well, when you're young, when you're in your early 20s in a city, and everyone is doing similar things, it wasn't called slowcore. It was sort of like a new acoustic sort of thing, because I was at the time I was like old. I think I was 27, 26, 27, and we were sort of, it's sort of like we were sort of starting to embrace. I mean, the thing is about music then. Lots of bands sang with English accents,
Right.
It was, and I had friends, they all sang with English accents. It was really exciting, and it was awful, And I think because really basically we were huge fans of English music, everything from Joy Division to everybody. I mean, Ian McCullough. I mean, we just made and although we had other elements. I mean, Voodie played in a country western band for a while. And Danny was definitely more in the Carter family than he was into Joy Division. So we kind of brought all those roots into sort of an anti-punk thing, because we were all sort of invested with punk. So we thought, fuck it. Mm-hmm. Punk is just a stupid idea. So let's do something else. And I guess in San Francisco at the time, there was sort of a scene like that. Definitely we had friends.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So we had friends who were in bands, So we would always go to their shows. They would always come to our shows, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah. So I guess we were part of the scene, but
and then getting. I mean, at that point, you were on a major label at this point, yeah, in the U.S. or no? That came later. That came afterwards.
No. We were on Frontier Records.
So that came afterwards, which sort of leads into that 25th anniversary of San Francisco, because by '94 here you are on a much bigger label. And And it's always awkward and really unfair to compare too many different styles of music at once. But, while you all were sort of I don't know, a quieter band, and a smaller band on such a big label when grunge was happening, or even before that in '89 when like Guns N' Roses were happening or something like that, but to be able to be called
Oh,
up.
I know. We would tour America, and everyone would be like, "Why don't you rock? Just rock." And we're like, "Well, rocking is not cool. We don't think rocking is very cool."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Finish your question.
Well, no, that's perfectly, because by the time you get to San Francisco, you do start hearing the rock songs in there. Like, San Francisco is a very different record than United Kingdom, and we're talking about a 5-year difference.
Yeah, San Francisco was sort of the tail end of everything. Like the guy who produced the first 4 American Music Club records had long since very bitterly dropped out of the scene. He kicked us out of the studio right after right when we were making the demos for Everclear. So he was way out of the scene. And then Bruce Capon, who played pedal steel, he was really not into the record, and he was really not into being part of it, and he quit. And basically I for that album, because it was so much money, I mean ridiculous amounts of money, and the producer at the time had been working on the same song for 1 month, to the tune of about $50,000 at the time, just to try to make, because Warner Brothers wanted it to be a hit record.
Mm-hmm.
And actually I was complicit. I wrote those songs hoping somehow there would be some kind of hit to pay back Warner's for all their dedication. I mean, Warner's was actually a great label at the time. Mm-hmm. We were really lucky. So it's like, yes, but every time you compromise, it sounds like a compromise. And basically, so we wrote this record. I basically told the band, look, I'm going to mix this with the engineer, and I'm going to fire the producer. And that's what I did. Because if you're there sort of at 9 in the morning until 9 or 10 at night every day, mixing the same song, and somebody from the band comes in and says, well, this just plain sucks. And you go, okay, what do you mean? Which EQ? Point to the EQ and let's no, it just sucks. It should sound more like some 4AD band at the time. It's right. Like, well, okay, how do you make that happen? We've just spent like all this fucking money, and you're just here to sort of like for an hour in your day, and I'm here every day. So anyway, I kicked the band out. And they didn't like it, and I don't blame them. And that was actually the end of the band, that album, because American Music Club always needed somebody calm and talented, and we had that with Tom Mallon, the guy who fucking hated the fucking music and hated the fucking songs. He was still a very stable person to have in the band. And Bruce, the same thing. Bruce was also very stable in the band. I mean, the rest of us were just kind of nuts. I mean, there was so much more alcohol being drunk in this band than you can possibly imagine.
How many six packs?
Oh, fuck me. Yeah. So much alcohol is drunk that without a stable person in the band, it was just going to fall apart. So I mean, there's so many stories around San Francisco. It was such a weird record to make.
I want to take the moment to compliment it though, and San Francisco is one I'd heard here and there, throughout the years. I probably hadn't listened to it in a little while. And I loved it. I put it on the other night, played it straight through, enjoyed every bit of it. I mentioned how many six packs. Well, it's a fun song, even if it is about, a heroin addict, as I've recall. Hello, Amsterdam. So here's a song that's very of the time. I can hear that song and I'm like, oh, that sounds very 1994 in the way some of that early Cracker stuff might have sounded or something like that. It's just the kind of that it bops around kind of like that stuff and everything. But I loved it. I didn't. It might feel like 94, but it's still a good song. Oh,
thanks. I don't know. It's a throwaway for me. It's sort of like, honestly, it was just sort of a tribute to the band. We kept playing, playing for incredibly stoned people is always really difficult. They just stare at you and they think, yeah, so now he feels sick. Now he has mental problems, so he should go to the doctor. I'm bored with the music. Go to the doctor. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
You all had just toured with Pearl Jam a little bit before then, and I did wonder if there was any rub off or influence. And you kind of say that, not about Pearl Jam or anything, but kind of wanting to write something big like that. But from what I understand, that tour was not fun for you all.
Yeah, it was sort of a disaster. I mean, we had been invited to do the Les Inrockable. I know I'm mispronouncing that. The French magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were amazing. At the time, they were the most influential paper, I think. And they had invited us to do a tour. We should have done it, but instead we did Pearl Jam, and just jumping into the maw of commercial America. And Pearl Jam themselves, as human beings, are wonderful. They're really good, generous, warm people, all of them. But yeah, it was not right for us at all. I mean, the last show we did, we didn't get any shoes thrown at us. Not too many, which was pretty great.
Yeah, they sidebar here. They were sort of famous around that time for doing that. Because as band members, they had eclectic taste beyond what their audience was coming for. And I think they did attract a lot of boneheads around the time because of what was happening. But I've heard that story before from several bands who kind of had that opening slot for Pearl Jam in that time, that it was all sort of the same thing. Like the band really loved them, but the audience hated them.
Yeah, I mean, and we were fools. We should have done Les Inrockable. It's like I realized another big mistake from American Music Club. Yay.
So when did you know that it was done? Like, San Francisco ends up being the final album for a decade from American Music Club. Like what was the moment where you're like, okay, well, that dream has passed and on to the next chapter?
It was 1999. The band had run out of money, but our management company, who was pretty big at the time, were still commissioning us for every check that was cut. Warner Brothers had given Alias Records about $170,000 as a bonus to buy us from the label. And the first check had gone through, and this was the second check. I think the second check was like for $70,000. And they commissioned us on the check, and we had no money to pay them the commission, because the check came from Warner Brothers, and we were like, we have nothing. And the band was split. Basically, like me and Voody were thinking, well, we can go back to touring and sleeping on people's floors. And the other two who were left were thinking, no, we still want a paycheck. We still want our own hotel room. Mm-hmm. So, the band had kind of reached, they still wanted a salary. And we had no money for salaries. So I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the rest of the band, and I said, well, this is it, right? I mean, if you are not willing to just be the band we were at the very beginning, then I think we're done. And the band were like, yep, we're done. Bye, Eitzel.
Just like that.
So like that.
Would you have kept it? I mean, so you were in it. You would have kept it going.
I would have kept it going, but I was also like not willing to fund the band.
Right.
That was the thing, and I was, because I had taken my money. My Warner Brothers money, I'd bought a house and a car. The other ones had taken extended vacations. Danny bought a house in Montana, and Voody went to Paris for a while, and I bought a house in San Francisco. So I was like, kind of don't want to support you guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we move on from San Francisco, you kind of said that Hello Amsterdam for you is kind of a toss-off. I mean, are there any songs on there that you remember that still resonate with you?
Cape Caravel, maybe, or The Revolving Door. People still really like that one. I think at the time we were evolving into we were thinking we were a soul band, Bill Withers, of course, but I don't know. I don't hate the record at all. I mean, I really don't. I mean, please don't get that impression. I love all these records, and I'm proud of making them. Really, I'm really proud that I was in this band because we were the best. I think we were one of the best bands ever. I mean, I really do. For a minute.
You meant a lot to a lot of people, and I'm definitely one of those, and so listening back on these and kind of reconnecting with those moments, I mean, they are great records. And so as the story goes, so I'll go ahead and forward, you guys did do 2 more records, and that made 9. And even that last record, the lineup was different. Is the band put to bed at this point, or is that door still, to put something out under that name? Do you ever want to make it the complete 10?
No.
No.
I really don't care. I mean, I'm old now, I'm old. It doesn't matter. It's like no one, like I try every chance I get. I mean, that's the thing about American Music Club. We always shot ourselves in the foot all the time, So I'm not. I mean, personally, next year we're going to re-release. We finally, after 20 years, we managed to get rights to the first 4 American Music Club records. So we're going to remaster them all and maybe do some remixing. Probably not, but definitely we digitized all the records and all the outtakes and all the demos and all the shit. I've got gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of stuff that we need to go through. We need to pay the nice man who digitized them, but after that we're going to go through and try to find the ultimate box set for this for these songs. I think this year in all this I think there's going to be a lot of, we're hoping that people will be interested in this. I don't know what the point I'm trying to make. I don't want to go into into the band members or anything like that, because that's sort of personal stuff, and they're all really good people and I love them, but for me it's like, why the fuck would I? Every single show was a fucking cataclysmic disaster. There was never, and myself included, there was never a show we played or an album we made where somebody in the band didn't say, "We fucking suck. That fucking sucks." I don't want to be around that anymore. It's my life's time's too short.
Right.
I don't have that much left. I don't have that much energy to be negative. And this band was always so fucking negative, and myself included. Really. But I look at pictures of us then, and we just glower. We're miserable motherfuckers, and I don't want to be any part of it.
Even what you're saying, box sets, all that stuff, the first 4 albums, like, that's very exciting to me, because if you're someone that just found you all, if you can't find that stuff very easily, you have to really try. So, for that stuff to be available again, that's really, really exciting. And, the idea of a box set, that's beautiful.
Plus a lot of the outtakes, like there's a song called "The Restless Stranger" that I think Warner Brothers released when they did some re-releases, like in the early '90s they re-released "Restless Stranger" and "Engine," and we included all these extra tracks on there. And boy, "Restless Stranger" is an amazing song. It really is. It's like, I don't know why we never included it on the album. I think because it was. I think including it on the record would have been the right thing to do, and we never did the right thing.
American Music Club, we never did the right thing. There's your box set title right there. That's it.
I know.
Hit it for a second on the Klamath record too, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary much later this year. I do believe it's at the end of the year. But talking about hard to get to albums, this was one you released on your own through the website, right?
Right.
Yeah. What was the story behind this one? Because this is the first one after that second AMC reunion album.
Yeah. Well, I got some friends who have a cabin up in Klamath in a place called Happy Camp, and I love these people a lot. And they let me stay in their basically in their drying room where they dry the pot. So I stayed in this cabin surrounded by marijuana plants, drying for a good month, and I came up with these songs and recorded most of them in the cabin. So that's where that comes from. It's just sitting surrounded by bud, writing this album.
Which is why it would be so minimalist, I guess.
It's pretty well. It is, and I want to read. Again, that's the thing. Help Me to Believe from San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm rewriting that. And now the song's called "Help Me to Kill Off My Character," because it was such an ego-based sort of song. It was really like me, and one of these bullshit fucking songs. So why did I go on this tangent? I guess because on Klamath the same thing. I want to redo it. I want to re-sing it because I think the vocals were a little like quiet. And I don't really sing quietly. I just did on that record for some reason.
Yeah.
I've actually been talking to an engineer in Los Angeles to actually go in and redo it, and I don't know why. I'm redoing everything, and also I've also finished a new album of 20 songs that I'm going to do with Bernard Butler this summer.
No, that's the best news. I mean, a new album. You know, of course I was hoping for that. You know, of course I was going to ask for that.
Oh,
Yeah, but and I will. But two more things for Klamath anyway. While I'm here.
all right, yeah.
A compliment. One's not really a question. Why I'm bullshit. That song right there. I've watched probably 4 or 5 live performances that's on YouTube of that one, and that is such a fun song. Every time I've seen those live performances to watch you do, it is so theatrical how you get into that one. So that's wonderful. So any chance that brings that one, I guess, back in the limelight, I think I'll enjoy that.
I like doing that song. It's probably the truest song ever written about me. Why I'm bullshit.
Bullshit.
It's all about the mission. Yeah.
It was Franz Nicolay part of that record?
Franz Nicolay was part of the tour.
Part of the
that
tour.
record.
Okay.
I toured with him extensively in Europe.
That's why I was trying to figure out the credits that I saw his name tossed around, but I didn't know if he was on the album or just helping you out.
He was just helping. He was. I don't think he was on the album. I could be wrong. No, because I did all this myself. So I don't. I mean, I live in this place. For instance, I started writing with my friend Simon Stevens. So I started writing for theater at the same time, and I Live in This Place was written for a play that we co-wrote called Marine Parade. Little trivia.
Oh, he's good for that stuff too. And there's a line on it. I think it's on the last song. We're all going to be forgotten. Let's face it. It's all we have in store. I thought.
Is that right? I don't know the lyrics anymore.
Yeah, there's a line. There's a line right towards the end of that record, and I thought, what a beautiful sentiment, whether I believe it or not. And I say I don't believe it.
Is that Ronald Cole was a rock star?
Yeah, it's that one. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
and Ronald Cole.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
No. Ronald Cole was a rock star in Columbus, Ohio, in the '80s. He was the biggest. He's the first person I ever met that just was charismatic. There's a lot, you meet people in your life and you know that they're rock stars. And Ron Cole was wanted to be David Bowie a little bit too much. I think that's in the song. But anyway, sorry.
No, but that line, I thought, here we're all going to be forgotten. Let's face it, it's all we have in store. And I thought that's kind of funny and a little bit ironic as here I am just remembering all of these great moments throughout your catalog. That's So nothing to worry about there. We'll keep that flame burning for you. What else can you tell me about that new record, if anything? I mean, 20 songs. You're working on it this summer. I mean, is there anything that's newsworthy about this at this point?
There's no story. That's what my manager in England keeps telling me is like, you got to have a story. And I just like, well, I don't really have a story. I'm just writing these horrible songs, So I don't know. They're real. I don't know. It's either the worst thing or the best thing I've ever written. I bet it's the worst. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if it's anything like your last one with Hey Mr. Ferryman, which was one of my favorite records of that year, I still worship that record. We wear it out around the house. My wife loves it and puts it on all the time. And if it's any kind of continuation of that, we're going to be right there for it.
I don't think it is going to be a continuation of that. It's pretty fucking bleak. It's pretty dark. So I don't know.
So are the times we live in, and
yeah, I know. God bless.
A reflection of maybe. I can't wait to hear it. I look forward to hearing it. It sounds like it's still a little bit of ways before I'll get to it, but I'm excited that it's going to happen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Mark, thank you so much for taking the trip here, a 30-year trip, as it were. I always appreciate your time, and I'll look forward to catching up again when we got a record to talk about.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
And a big thanks to Mark Eitzel talking about American music clubs at United Kingdom in San Francisco, his solo record, Klamath. I cannot wait to hear what he's got in store on this next solo record as well. Dark as it might be. Hey, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening from right now, whether it's at Apple Podcasts and iTunes, Spotify. If you're listening on YouTube, you can do it there as well. Then head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show every Monday through Thursday from noon to 3 Eastern. You can also find some bonus episodes of this series over there. Head to Consequence of Sound to get your music and film news. You can find me at Twitter at Kyle Meredith, Facebook/Kyle Meredith. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.